3, 2, 1. And we are live again. Just like yesterday, we are live. We made it after the YouTube ban. Quite impressive attack on this channel, but nevertheless, we are back in full effect. I know the vegans won't be happy about this. Guys, today we have a special guest, Alana. It should be absolutely fantastic to hear her story. She is a born vegetarian. I'm gonna do the introduction once she comes on. For now, I'm still not in the Google Hangouts window. It will be, of course, a Boomer Bobby moment, as always. But once I connected the tech, we will be able to start right away. I see already people complaining about the waiting game. Guys, that was an 8-minute intro. Come on, that's definitely not too long. Especially not when we are on time. And Bobby is never on time. So I beg you. Anyways, thank you very much for all the super chat donations yesterday and for all the Streamlabs donations. I don't know if I noticed, but Frame of Mind, actually donated 50 Canadian dollars. So thank you very much for the generous donation. I appreciate that. If you have any questions for our guest today, please feel free to post them in the chat. However, as always, I won't be able to answer all of them, obviously. So therefore, if you really want your questions answered, super chats and Streamlabs donations will be prioritized. I think you can donate as little as $1. I think we all are capable of that. And then I can redirect your questions right away to our guest, Alana. Okay, that is that. We have already the first super chat. Let me read that out before I tune into the chat of today. Will it show up? Yeah. I'm waiting for it. I already saw it here in my window. Let's give it a couple of seconds. VL now says Bobby's real talent is live streaming. I don't know about that, but I'm giving it my best. Infini Rio. We have 20, I think that's New Zealand dollars. I lived in New Zealand for a while. Both Darwin and God say humans are carnivores. The evidence is just too overwhelming. We will never be cows. That is absolutely correct. I personally am not a Darwinist. However, yes, from an evolutionary standpoint and, of course, from a God perspective, which I refer to, obviously we are meat eaters. And today we're definitely going to talk about that. Anyways, an applause for you. Thank you very much. Infini Rio. As I said, guys, super chats, Streamlabs donations will be probably not only prioritized today, but they will be the only questions that I will be able to read out for our guest. Alright, with no further ado, I see plenty of people are tuned in already. I know the timing today is a bit earlier than otherwise, but slowly but surely people should be tuning in. I'm gonna reach out to Alana now and wish me luck, because the window is not really linked yet. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I can see you. Just give me a second, Alana. I have to link your window to my tech here.
Okay, cool.
I said it before. Boomer Bobby always needs a lot of time for that. I'm getting old. Okay, let me see. Here we are. Almost there. Now
Cool.
we just need Alana and then we can get started. They already know my face. Okay, 1 second. Here we are. And not quite. Let me try something else. Just 1 second, guys. It will take a minute and then I should be good to go. Should be. Okay, like this. I think that's gonna work.
So technical.
Yeah, so technical. Way too technical for me. That's the issue. Ah, here we are. See, fantastic. We have you here. We have
Cool.
that bright smile. Let me just crop this. And then
My
we
hair's
have...
kind of frizzy.
It's better than mine. You win that department.
Peak beard.
Thank you very much. Okay, so 1 second, just a crop here on the left. Something like that. Where are you? What happened? I'm messing this up, guys, sorry, but you're used to it. People on my channel, they know. It always takes me years to set stuff up.
Years. That's so funny. I really enjoyed the live stream that you did with Kasumi, Chris, and Elise from Raw Alignment. I saw those many years ago.
Yeah,
They
that's
were great.
way back.
I know.
That's way back. I think it's already, maybe 3 years ago.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so wild. That was like the beginning of everything for me.
Yeah, that was the beginning, exactly, for us here too, on this channel. Wait a second. I'm messing this up big time. Sorry, guys. I have to restart this window. Okay, this should work. We have a super chat. Thank you very much, SK, for the generous donation of $50. Who says, I never catch your live streams, Bobby. Glad to see you back. Yeah, well, now you did. Thank you very much for the generous donation. Let me give you an applause. Until I fiddle around here. Wow, it never has taken so long. That's crazy.
You got there for a second.
Yeah, I know. For a second, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we got it. More or less.
Yay!
Hey, fantastic. Okay, Alana, welcome to the show. Let me give you a brief introduction, guys. Alana is a born vegetarian that decided to eat meat for the first time when she was 29 years old. She says that eating meat brought her closer to God. She's not only an ex-vegan, but an ex-feminist as well. And on top of that, a porn addiction coach. Alana, welcome to the show.
Bobby, it is such a pleasure. I have been such a huge fan of you for so long. I saw your whole transformation from your raw vegan days to now. Wild.
Yeah, that is really wild. That's so crazy. You watched me when I was a raw vegan.
Yeah, when you were doing your workouts outdoors, and I think you were in Thailand, was it? I
Yeah,
don't
that
remember
is
where you
true.
were. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
yeah.
was in Thailand. Oh, I have to cringe when I think about those raw vegan days.
So funny, but I remember like at the time I was watching you, I was a vegan too, and I was like, oh, he looks so strong. Like I want to be like that.
Yeah, super strong. I thought so too. I thought I was very muscular. Now when I look back, I'm quite shocked to see those videos. It's interesting how the perspective shifts once you eat meat, no? When I see those videos
So
nowadays, I think,
interesting.
wow, that looks pretty anorexic. But back
I know,
then,
but like I remember being in that mindset and like thinking that everyone else looked inflamed or something, and like
yeah,
and that like vegans looked so chiseled, but it was just their bones.
ripped and shredded. Exactly. Okay, anyways, this looks more or less alright. I'm still trying to crop your window a bit. Maybe like so. Now it disappeared. Anyways, Alana, tell us about how it all started. So you're a born vegetarian.
Yeah.
I think you're from India. I think your parents are vegetarians as well, and they fed you a vegetarian diet from birth. Am I correct there? Or
That is correct. Yeah, both my parents were vegetarian when they had me and my sisters, and they raised us vegetarian. And so I was vegetarian until like I think I went vegan around like 22, 23 years old, somewhere around there. And then I was a vegan up until 29 years old. So
wow,
the first entirety of my life was without any meat.
wow, that's wild. So during that time, did you notice any health issues, or was it just fine growing up vegetarian?
Um, looking looking back on it now, I remember like always being an anxious child, like really being like having a lot of anxiety, having a lot of especially like social anxiety. And I remember always having these really intense, dark under eye circles growing up. But I always thought that it was genetic because I see a lot of Indians have that. But now when I
Yeah.
look at the diet of most Indians, because, India has the most vegetarian population on Earth. And so now I'm starting to connect the dots that maybe that's why they have it. But, you know,
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. Yeah, that's what I
yeah.
noticed as well. I thought that it's genetic too. I thought maybe it's just melanin in the skin. That must be it. Plenty of Indians
Mhm.
have it. But as you
Mhm.
said, plenty of Indians are vegetarians as well.
Yeah, and they also consume a lot of oil too, and I think that has a lot to do with it. And they consume a lot of like lentils and like dal and things like that.
The
And I
healthy
actually,
stuff.
right, I actually do still have like under eye circles, but I have noticed that they have improved dramatically since um, leaving veganism. So I'm hoping they'll just continue to improve. I'm not sure how long it takes. I was like, you know, 29 years of my life without any of it. I'm sure
Wow.
it's going to take time to reverse.
Wow. When I talked to a vegetarian that was born vegetarian as well, she reported on a lot of menstrual problems, not really hitting puberty, etc., etc. Did you have any hormonal issues with vegetarianism?
I didn't really, but as a vegetarian, I was eating a lot of dairy and eggs, and so maybe
Yeah.
that had to do with it. But as a vegan, though, I experienced some issues. I was like raw vegan for about a month, and that month I like pretty much lost my menstrual cycle. But it
But that's
came
the good
back.
part. That's when you start detoxing. So then you really have to push through and keep it up for 3 years roughly, and that's when you're really pure. You did it
Oh my
wrong.
gosh,
Yeah.
I was totally in that mindset. I was totally in that mindset and just like I remember seeing Freely's videos talking about how like, oh, don't worry about it if you like it's a sign of cleanliness
Hmm.
and purity and everything. And but now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to have kids one day and like I can't I can't be
Just
without a
get a
menstrual cycle.
vasectomy, like Dr. Greger said, to be super vegan. But that's
Oh my
interesting.
gosh.
So you grew up vegetarian and then you still went vegan. How did that come
Mhm.
about? Was it a logical extension of that? When did that happen? What was the motivation for it?
Oh my
Ethical,
gosh.
environmental? Let us know
It
that.
was so first it was both ethical and health reasons. It's funny because I actually remember like being very frustrated with my dark under eye circles as a vegetarian. And I thought that going vegan would make it better.
We got
And
the right
like
diet for you.
I I started watching at first I saw Freely on YouTube. She was one of the first people who uh I guess sparked my inspiration to become a vegan. And because back in the day, Freely, I thought that Freely looked really good. Like she looked so bubbly and healthy. But then later I realized, like later it came out that I guess she was injecting her face with like fillers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Botox.
Something like, yeah, something along those lines. But at the time that I saw her, I thought that she was like all natural with everything. And so I was like really impressed with how she looked as like a 30 something year old. And I was like, whoa, like this woman looks so beautiful and healthy and vibrant. And like clearly, like what she's saying must make sense, right? And so I started binging her videos. And then eventually I found, what's that guy, Gary Yourofsky?
Yeah. It's always Gary.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah,
Gary.
it's always scary. I saw his like the best speech you'll ever hear, or whatever.
The
And
best.
then and then from there I found Tim Sheaf. I found Ravana when she was still Ravana.
Yeah.
And then I found you, and I found
Shame on me.
I went down the whole like fruit like Woodstock rabbit hole, and I found all you guys and I started following all you guys and doing what you guys are doing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so wild. Yeah, back then I had the same perception as you just said. They all looked so
Hmm.
vibrant, so healthy, so much energy. It had this
Hmm.
spirit of just changing the world altogether, right? They know
Yeah.
how the human body functions, they know how the world works, and we all just did it wrong. Nobody really understands anything, everybody's cruel. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But those characters over time, either they reverted to eating meat, or you can see that they disappeared off YouTube altogether, or they have all kinds of health issues. Freely, for example, I don't know if you noticed, if she does videos nowadays, she does them without actually appearing in the video. So she only does voiceovers. Allegedly due to some sort of dental decay, some sort of issue with her dentist. But yeah, we've seen her just withering away over the past few years, and now she doesn't even show herself anymore. It's quite shocking stuff.
Interesting. Well, I actually, I'm sure you know that YouTube channel, Vegan Deterioration.
Yeah, of course.
She's so great. She's so observant. And I feel like she is a true scientist or like a true researcher because she's so like, that's what I love about people like her. And I also followed that guy, Drew Morgan, for a while,
Yeah.
and I saw like these people are so observant, like, and they're so the way that they put the photos back to back and everything, it makes everything so obvious. And like, and I saw like a couple of her most recent videos about Freely, and she had posted a video of Freely, and I honestly like, man, I feel for Freely. I feel like she must be suffering right now. Like she looks like she's suffering.
Yeah, she definitely must be suffering if she still is human, because we say 7 years into veganism is usually the end stage veganism already. And then from 7 to 10 years, this is where you have the most rapid deterioration. And if you stick it out longer than 10 years, this is where you get almost irreparable health issues. So we've seen that with internal bleeding, antidepressants, tooth decay, tooth rotting, and all kinds of things. So yeah, I think Freely is just there.
Yeah, and you know, man, I don't know if I would really want to get into this or not, but I mean, I was following her for so long, and I saw the whole trajectory between her and that guy Durian Rider. And I almost feel like I don't know, like he seems like such a raging narcissist, and I wonder, like, you know, just how much he must have traumatized Freely, and like just what that did to her, because like she almost seems like a victim of PTSD or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Durian Rider, Daddy Durian Rider. He's the
Yeah.
daddy, the sugar daddy. What a guy. Amazing entertainment.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
anyways.
yeah.
So you went vegan then. How old were you again when you went vegan?
Somewhere around 22, 23.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
about the age when we get into
Yeah.
veganism. And so during veganism, you said you tried the fruit thing, the raw vegan thing. Did you supplement during those times?
I did towards the end of it, because by the end of it, I was really starting to feel like very low energy and unhealthy. And so I was thinking, okay, like maybe it's because I haven't been supplementing. And so
That's
I
it.
did, yeah, I started doing the B12 supplements, the vitamin D supplements, and I was also doing DHA and
Yep.
EPA, and I was doing every now and then I would take what's that called? The spirulina stuff. So yeah,
The
every
healthy
now and
algae.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff tastes so vile. Every sense in
I
your
took it
body
in
tells
like
you not to
pills.
eat it. Oh, you had it in pills? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, then it makes sense. Yeah, DHA EPA is from algae as well, because we don't need the fish as a middleman. We can just go straight to the source and eat the
Right.
algae. Absolutely. That worked out. So you
Oh my gosh.
supplemented in the end of veganism. Would you say it was a whole food diet, or was it just random vegan food? How did it look like roughly? So
Oh
people get
my
an
gosh,
idea.
I felt like I honestly felt like I did veganism right. Like
No such thing.
like I had found, because like early on, because I had always been interested in health. Like health has always been a passion of mine. And so I was never super attracted to the fake meats or like the fake cheeses or anything. Like I already kind of had it in my head that like the most unprocessed foods are the best. And so I was eating fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and beans and lentils and rice and quinoa and like everything that's supposed to be healthy and whole food pretty much. So that's why I was like getting really frustrated by the end, because I was just like, I don't get it. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm like doing everything right. But And then I was thinking maybe it's because I don't live in Thailand. Like
Probably.
there's like the sun and like the tropical fruits around me and everything,
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so ultimately you did it wrong as well, like all of us. No matter how you do it, in the end they're gonna tell you did it wrong anyways. Did you consume enough calories? I'm asking those questions not for me personally, just so you know. I'm asking those questions
Yeah.
for the vegans out there so they see a reference and they understand. So you did a whole food plant-based diet, you supplemented
Yeah.
as well. How did it look like calorie-wise? Did you eat enough? Was
Oh
that
my
the
gosh,
issue?
I was like addicted to chronometer.com. Do you know? I was addicted to like typing in all my foods into chronometer.com to make sure I was hitting every target. And I remember like, because like I said, Freely's videos were the ones that I found first. And so she always talked about overstuffing yourself. And I would see her eating these like big ass bowls of pasta and like big ass bowls of like just, like these boiled potatoes and everything. And so, like in the beginning, I was literally eating like 3,000 calories a day and like trying to make sure. And I was like literally like training my stomach to like expand and just like, oh my gosh, it's so wild. Look back on those days, honestly.
Yeah, that's what they tell you, right? So your gut has to adapt to all that fibrous
Mm-hmm.
food, and you need more volume as a vegan. So this is why it
Mm-hmm.
is. But after a while, your gut gets used to it. When you eat 30 bananas a day, ultimately it
Mm-hmm.
will work out. Yeah, I tried that too. But it's quite interesting to see how it never really works. They tell you beans, you need an adaptation phase, maybe 3 days, maybe 3 weeks. But I
Mm-hmm.
always would get digestive upset if I would eat beans. And I think everybody on this planet does as well, right? And my body never got
Yeah.
used to 30 bananas a day. And I did that too. I actually did the banana island thing. It's called banana island, really,
Yeah.
where you
I did
just
I
eat
did Banana
bananas.
Island and Watermelon Island and Grape Island and like
For Really's Island, yeah. Fun times,
Mhm.
fun times. So, what was then the red flag for you? What was the waking up process? Was it due to the YouTube videos itself, or was it just that you couldn't take your health issues?
Um, it was, I guess it was both. I mean, I have to admit though, the first like I want to say the first 2 years of veganism, the first 2, 3 years, I did feel really good. Like, but I think a lot of it had to do with my body just like running off the adrenaline from all the sugar I was eating, from all the fruits. And like, but like everything that my body was going through, I thought was a good thing. So like if I was, this might sound kind of graphic, but
Go for
like
it. We're used
if
to
I
it, yeah.
was if I was like, eliminating like 30 times a day, I think like, oh, that's healthy because I like my body's like detoxing all the waste and
Perfect.
everything. And like, so I was so gassy as a vegan and I thought that that was a good thing because I was like, oh, it's just like constant, like detoxing and everything. So like it's like everything that I later come to understand was a problem. I first saw those things as good things. And even when I noticed that, like, I noticed that my face was starting to look really sunken in. And it was really freaking me out because I was like, like, I'm following Freely's exact diet. Her face looks so full and so, like, healthy. But, like, mine is, like, shrinking by the minute. I'm just like,
What are you
like,
doing
what am I
freely?
doing wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong here? Yeah. And but anyway, yeah, I would say that the first kind of domino to fall in my mind was when I saw Tim Sheaf and his transformation. And I thought that, I was following him because he seemed like he was so connected to his body, like the way that, his whole like Ninja Warrior thing and everything. I was like, this guy clearly has a deep connection to his body. So for him to like fall off the wagon, like it must mean that he's feeling something in his body that's not right, right? Because I know he was like a super vegan.
Yeah.
And so, at first I have to admit though, I was like kind of irritated by it because I was just like why would he go back on something that he believed in so much, like, and I had all those really toxic thoughts like, oh, traitor, this, that, and everything. But then I saw him starting to look really healthy and I was like, oh my goodness, like he must be on the right track, right? And then I saw the same thing happen to Elise, and then to Giovanna, and then I was watching your videos too, and I was seeing your transformation, and it was just like, okay, like clearly these people. And what really attracted to me to you guys specifically is that I felt like you, Tim, Elise, and Giovanna, I felt like all you guys were really connected to the truth. Like you cared about truth and like uncovering truth. And I didn't really feel that from a lot of other vegans that I would see. Like that was the whole reason why I went vegan in the first place, because I thought it was the truth. And like I am someone who deeply cares about the truth. I can't live my life based on lies and everything. And you guys also had like a very similar spiritual what's the word, affinity, I guess. Like I love the way that, like, I saw your most recent video about reading the Quran. That was like so interesting to me. But anyway, yeah, like I saw all you guys as really connected to the truth, and I was like, okay, like if it happened to all of them, like literally all the people who I look up to the most in this movement, it can't just be coincidence, right? Like they must have gone through some deep mental changes to have done that. And so I started looking into it more. And I remember there was one night when I was like crying myself to sleep and like begging God to tell me what to eat. I was like, God, like, just tell me what to eat. Like, I don't know what to eat. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm falling apart. And I remember the next morning, I woke up and I like one of the first videos that popped up on my suggested videos was a ex-vegan interview with Sparage, that guy. And I saw
God sent you a sign.
and I just clicked on it, and he was literally explaining every single health issue I was going through. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I clearly there's something to this. Like, and so I just went down that rabbit hole, and then eventually I ate an egg.
It's always the egg.
It's always the egg because it seems
food.
like the most safe, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like the most benign.
Tim Schiff was absolutely huge. I mean, he was one of the vegans that was public as well on TV with Ninja Warrior and other shows as well in Britain. When he went ex-vegan, he was one of the first really huge influencers that did that. And the backlash was enormous. Everybody was screaming, it's because you drank your pee-pee, your mushrooms, like in my case as well, etc., etc. So he got a lot of backlash, but he had a huge ripple effect to this very, very day. He just left veganism and he didn't do any anti-vegan content after that. But the ripple effect coming from Tim Schiff is absolutely huge, I would say, to this very day.
I agree. And I would say from you too, Bobby, like both of you guys had a deep influence on me because, like I said, both of you guys, I felt like were really connected to the truth. Like I feel like both you and Tim, like you guys care about the truth, and like you're both truth seekers. And so like I kind of put you guys in like the same category almost. And you're also someone who's super connected to your body. Like even as a raw vegan, you were definitely like more fit than any raw vegan I've ever seen, you know, like very dedicated to your fitness and everything. And
it's not hard to be fitter than most raw vegans, but I take it as a compliment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, for sure, for sure. I mean, honestly, like you in your like super raw vegan days, you still look healthier than so many vegans right now. It's like, you know, but you were probably trying really hard, you know?
Yeah.
But
really hard.
But yeah, you know, like I said, I care about the truth. And so like everything you guys were saying, which just like made sense. And I saw a lot of live streams that you were doing with that Primal Edge health guy too.
Tristan.
And I also saw the one with Kasumi, Chris, and I'm like good friends with Kasumi. And and I saw her videos, I saw her transformation too. It was all around like the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a huge test to my ego for sure. It was like, so everything I've been promoting for like the last 5-6 years, like I'm wrong, like really, you know, it was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Drew Morgan as well, and to this very day, I always quote Drew. On that note, Drew, come back to YouTube. We need more videos. You were doing a fantastic job. But Drew said that the open mind that led you to veganism should be the open mind that will lead you out of veganism again. And that is a profound quote because it takes a lot of an open mind in order to see a diet as something that you would be able to pursue even though nobody else did it. So you are probably the first one. And ultimately then to stay in that open-minded state and to be able to see the flaws with that ideology, yeah, that takes the exact same open mind, but people lose it down the road. And I lost it myself as well. So I can relate to that when you speak about the ego. It was the biggest ego crusher out there because veganism is a very pompous ideology, I would say. It is an ideology where you know better than anybody, than literally anybody before you, any human civilization before you. You just know it all. And now you're going to change the world. It's a revolutionary spirit that is found within the vegan doctrine too. And once that crumbles, especially if you had a YouTube channel like myself and you've been promoting that diet for 3 or 4 years, yeah, it takes a lot to jump ship and change the course, for sure.
It really does. It really does. But it's like, to me, it's a sign that like, it was a sign that I felt like you guys, I could really trust you guys. Like, I felt like I could really trust you and Tim and Elise and Giovanna. And like, because like for you guys to like just come out and talk about it openly, like that takes so much courage after, you know, like building an entire following based on a certain lifestyle. It's like, it really made me trust you guys. And so I was like, man, like these guys are risking everything to like talk about what's true for them. So like there has to be something to this. There's no way that these guys would risk like losing their whole following if it wasn't true, you know?
Yeah, that's right. You chuckled a little bit when you were talking about that you pray to God to tell you what to eat. But I have to tell you an anecdotal story here from my wife as well. And she had a very, very similar situation. It was at the end of veganism for both of us. And she just didn't feel like herself anymore. She couldn't get her head together, brain fog, kind of depressed as well. And then she had a moment like that too, she told me afterwards, where she was just sitting alone in the flat and praying to God and asking him where it all went wrong. And that's when she realized it's veganism. Veganism went wrong. This is where the wrong turn happened. So I can relate to those situations as well. Anyway, speaking about God, let's use it as a segue. So you started eating first the egg, like myself as well. Then you started... Actually, let's talk about that first. What did you eat after the egg? And then we're going to talk about God.
I can relate to your wife very much, by the way. Yeah, it sounds like exactly what I experienced. Just like crying and like begging God for an answer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I started with the egg. And oh my gosh, I like looking back on it, I can't believe how crazy I was. But like, I remember like having all these, because I used to work with a like vegan organization where I live and everything. And like, I was literally one of those people who would like go to slaughterhouses and like film what I saw. And like,
No
everything.
way. Oh, really? You were an activist?
Oh my gosh, Bobby. Like it was a different lifetime. But yeah.
You were more hardcore than us here.
I would be out there at like 3 a.m. feeding water to like the pigs on the truck and everything.
Wow.
And like, oh my gosh. And I remember I was getting all these like really paranoid thoughts when I wanted to eat the eggs. I was like, okay, like I can't have this be traced back to me. Like I need to, I even like literally I had the thought that I can't buy the eggs with credit card because then my name might be on it. It might trace it back to me. Like I need to buy it in cash and I need to like wear a sweatshirt and like with like glasses and just, you know, like I was crazy, but,
Wow.
but oh my gosh, that was like the mindset I was in. I was just like, I felt like I was buying drugs or something. You know?
I know how that feels. I know how it feels exactly. I was hiding when I bought my first sushi. because I thought everybody knows me around here. It's Thailand after all. There must be other vegans that know my channel. I was hiding with it. I was carrying it like it was some like a corpse or something. You know, nobody can find out.
That's
Dead body
hilarious.
disposal. Crazy. Yeah, keep on talking.
Well, so I said, so I remember like what it was like to crack the egg open for the first time, and I was like, I haven't done this in like 6 years. That's so crazy to me. And I like actually don't remember how I had it. I don't know if it was like scrambled or something, but like I remember I didn't want to have the runny yolk. Actually, I do remember that. I was like, that's too much for me right now. So I had the egg, and I remember kind of feeling like this tingling sensation in my brain and like my head, but I didn't know like I was like so disconnected from my body that I didn't know if I was imagining it or if it was real. And I was just like, and it was like, okay, like I do feel that tingling sensation, but do I feel it because I've heard other people talk about it? So now like my body's like, now I'm like tricking myself into thinking I'm feeling it because that's what I'm expecting to feel. But I definitely felt it. And so for like a little while I was only eating eggs, but then I decided to get fish. And I had no idea how to cook it or anything. And I went into like this restaurant and I just got takeout. And I remember like being extremely grossed out by it. Like, cause I had never had it for 29 years of my life. So it was like the first time ever. And it tasted like, I remember it tasted bad to me. Like like I was not used to the texture, and like, I just couldn't get the thought out of my head that this is like a dead piece of fish that's in my mouth right now. Like, ugh. But I like forced myself to eat. I ate like only like maybe a third of the whole entree. And I remember like having to sit still for like 5 minutes because I could feel my whole body like just in a rush. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, and I was like, this is literally what they talked about feeling. And I am feeling it right now too. And so like, even though I really didn't like it and I thought it was gross, I kind of was just like, I need to force myself to keep eating this because there's something that's working in my body right now. And this is going to sound like kind of silly, but I remember like going to bed that night and waking up in the middle of the night, and I remember feeling like my muscles were pumping or something. And I was like, and I remember I went and like looked in the mirror, and I swear to you, it felt like my body looked different. It felt like my face looked different immediately. It was so weird. I was like, I felt this like almost like hint of like aggression or something, but in a good way, not in a bad way.
No.
In like a
aggression is always
way.
bad. You became violent again because you ate that fish corpse. Alana, just admit it, you killer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually started going to that restaurant like a couple times a week for a few months, and the changes were like so undeniable. And then eventually I made my way to red meat, but I remember it just felt too much at the time, just like way too much. And then after eating the red meat, I noticed something very similar. I noticed like a really deep, intense, calm feeling.
Yeah.
And I just started to like connect the dots. I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this why I was always anxious as a child? Because like, I don't even feel like, is this what has been missing? Like, it was such a wild ride, Bobby. It was like a whole identity crisis. Like, I had to come out to like my friends who I was like part of the vegan organization with and everything. And like, oh my gosh, they were actually surprisingly really supportive. And then one of them actually, through my influence, ended up leaving the organization, like the veganism too. And she looks so much healthier now too.
Nice.
It's just like, oh my gosh, what a ride.
Yeah, what a ride. I can relate, honestly, to the more pumped muscles, obviously. There's a muscle head here. Now, when I was eating the sushi, after 3 days or so, I noticed as well that I had a complete physique change. And I tracked everything as well. So I ate the exact same calories, just through fish. But the physique change was immense. And the contractions in the gym. So if I would lift something, the feeling itself in the muscles was amazing. It was a night and day difference. Before, as a vegan, I would feel pain, but not this no pain, no gain type. It was just suffering, just painful. And then when I was eating actual protein coming from animal sources, I just felt, strong, and it was fun lifting heavy weights. It's a quite amazing effect. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, you look like a totally different person from when you were a raw vegan. Like, it's mind blowing to me, like how you like now, like comparing the videos, it's just like you look like you're like you filled out or something. I know it's the same thing in myself too. Like, everything was so deflated in my face, and now it's like filling out more, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And now it makes me actually realize why Freely was using the face injections and everything, because I'm like, oh my gosh. So like, and I actually I don't know, I mean, I could be making this up, but like, I mean, actually maybe I'm making this up, because I know that there's a lot of women out there, both vegan and non-vegan, who use like face fillers and everything.
Sure.
But I have noticed in the vegan community too, a lot of the women also, they it's almost like they recognize that their faces look unhealthy, and so they inject fillers into their face to make it look healthier, because it's like inherently, you know, that a fuller face looks healthier. But so it's like I don't know. But then again, non-vegans I know use face fillers too, so I don't know.
Yeah, I would say that non-vegans, I mean, 80% of our diet nowadays is plant-based anyways. So I talked about this on my channel many times. The standard American diet is 80% plant-based, so therefore it's no wonder that we see a lot of deterioration in common folks as well. So fillers are being used by all kinds of people, that is true. But it's of course especially hypocritical if we have a raw vegan fruitarian type like Freely that is totally skinny everywhere and you can see almost veins coming out, and then she's going to fill up her face just to have that specific look. But I have to go back again to the animal activism, because that is mind-blowing to me. I did my activism online with my vegan YouTube channel. So you really went to those pig safe events, yeah? How did that look like? I was never at such an event, so I would really like to know. Because you made the emotional connection as well, obviously. So let us know about
I really
that.
did.
Yeah, I believe you.
I really did. And you know, I mean, a lot of it also had to do with how much validation and approval I was getting from my parents as well, because, you know, they were vegetarian. And I remember like a big motivator for me going to those things was that my parents would always say how proud they were of me that I was doing that stuff. And it made me feel good to get their approval and to feel like they're proud of me and everything, you know?
Sure.
And so we would go there around like 4 a.m. This was in Chicago, by the way. And so we had like, Chicago's known as supposed to be like the slaughterhouse of the world, pretty much, because we had the stockyards and everything. But so we would go to the slaughterhouses at like 4 a.m. and we would watch all the pigs and sometimes other animals being brought in these big trucks, and like they were like layered on top of each other. And I mean, even looking back on it now, I still don't really support that way of doing things, because these pigs, they were in like really bad shape. Like they did look really sick, and like a lot of them had everything that vegans would talk about, like the ulcers and the big I don't know what they're called, but like those like big goiter looking things on their bodies. And you know, I definitely, like, even thinking about it now, like, to be honest with you, I still struggle sometimes with the emotions of the animals, because like I said, it was 29 years of my life that I was like connecting with the animals like that. And so I think it was really hard for me to let go of, it still is hard for me to think about the emotions of the animals. But there'd be like a bunch of other activists out there. We would be like giving water to the pigs, and we would be filming everything. And it was just like it is really interesting how, like, when you're in the activist world, your whole life becomes about suffering. Like you're always focused on the suffering, and really makes it hard to feel any joy in your life because you're so hyper focused on the suffering. And it's like you end up like suffering throughout all of it too. It's like it's a whole weird web. But I mean, like right now I try to like, source things from good places and good farms that let the animals roam free and everything. And so, I still do struggle with it sometimes though.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it must be especially hard because you grew up vegetarian. So for you, eating meat was a total novelty. So for you, eating meat was like for me eating vegan for the first time because you never did it in your life, right?
I'm
Are you the
sure
first one? Are you the first one in your family that ever ate meat, or how does it look
in my
like?
immediate family, my grandpa on my mom's side used to eat seafood and chicken, but no red meat. I might be I don't know if I'm the first one to eat red meat. I'm not really sure, but no, it's been hard. I mean, my dad actually still doesn't know, and
Wow.
I told my mom about it though, and it was not good. Like I felt like I lost a lot of her approval, a lot of her respect, a lot of her validation, and it was really, really hard, because you want your parents to be proud of you. So it was tough.
What kind of religion do they follow? Is it Hinduism? Was it a branch of Hinduism? What exactly is it? I would be
My
interested to
mom
know.
is Hindu, and my
Hmm.
dad's Jain.
Jain, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
I
Are you
looked into.
familiar with Jainism?
Yeah, yeah, I looked into it, especially because of the swastika, because I'm such a swastika fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Oh
Ryan
my
from
gosh,
Happy
you
Healthy
would
Vegan calls me Nazi and
you would
racist.
love India. You should go to India during Diwali. You'll see them everywhere. Swastikas everywhere.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. So your mother was very disappointed, huh? What did she say?
Extremely. Oh my God. She was very hurt, very angry. I told her about how I was eating fish and like she would like send me all these videos of fish being tortured. and, just, and I'm just like, I can't even be mad at this because this is the same stuff I used to do. So
Yeah.
it's like maybe it's like karma in a weird way.
Have you
Like,
watched Earthlings, daughter? Have you seen Dominion?
oh my gosh, I interviewed the guy who made Dominion. I was
No
going to
way,
all
you
the
were
vegan
deep.
conferences. Bobby, you have no idea.
I really don't.
I was going to all the vegan conferences.
Wow.
I interviewed the doctor from What the Health, Milton Mills. Like I think I might have taken the interview down. It might still be up on my channel. I'm not sure, but like I had interviewed him. I had interviewed the guy who created Dominion. I met James freaking Aspie, and like,
James Aspey.
oh my gosh. I mean, like even right now, I'm still very connected to some vegans, but like I don't know if you've ever heard of Johnny Juicer, but he's a really good friend of
Yeah, yeah, I
mine.
know that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a really good friend of mine, and he was like so cool when I told him about my experience and everything, and like I still connect and am friends with so many of those people, but it's very interesting to see the ones who shun you versus the one who are accepting about it because I feel like Johnny's also someone who really cares about truth, and so I feel like when people care about truth, they're less likely to judge you because they understand like the mental ups and downs it takes to follow the truth. And so yeah.
He's been raw vegan forever, no? And juice fasting, etc. How long has he been at it?
He's actually no longer raw. He
That's the
eats
first
like
step.
cooked foods
Johnny.
now. I know. Yeah. And Johnny and his girlfriend Alondra runs this vegan restaurant in San Diego. And she actually does look very beautiful and healthy. And so like I wonder sometimes like if certain people's bodies are just able to withstand things more or like what it really is because. And then when I look at James Aspie, I feel like that guy looks like he's deteriorating so much. Like
That's dumb.
everything. Oh my gosh. Um, but
He looked
anyway,
so good. He was a handsome fella when he came on the scene. He was muscular,
well,
looked
well,
good.
what's so
Yeah.
interesting, like looking back on it now, it makes perfect sense how, because it's like when you first go vegan, a lot of if you care about health, then you're going to remove a lot of the toxic processed foods that you're eating. So it is going to make you look good at first. But I think I think that there just is a lot of deception in judging things by the visual, and so honestly, like, even though all of you guys look a lot healthier now, like you and Tim and Ravana and like all those people, you guys clearly look healthier, but that's not even the reason for why I'm like drawn to what you have to say. It's like, because veganism taught me that you can't trust looks, you can't trust like what people look like, and so like for me it's more of the energy that you guys give off and like the feeling that you guys give off and like how I feel now. It's like, because like if I was blind, the truth would still be the truth. Like if I
That's
couldn't
right.
see anything, it's like it still wouldn't change how I feel.
Yeah, that's very profound and true. Absolutely. Yeah. So ultimately, and now I want to ask you this one more time because I still don't get this whole idea. And sorry for just digging deeper into this, but you're the first real hardcore animal activist.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just very, very interesting to me. Did you have it up on your YouTube as well? Because I haven't seen that material. So
I
of
took a
you
lot of it
going,
down.
yeah,
I took a lot of it down. I had one video where me and a friend had gone to this like chicken slaughterhouse, and like we had filmed everything that happened in it. I took that video down. I took down like, because at this point in my life, like I just don't like, even though it was like a part of my journey, I don't even care to have that stuff up there anymore. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, it was, I don't know. Like I said, I still do struggle emotionally with it, but I think that the whole emotional thing, though, I do wonder sometimes if it has to do with maybe the feminine and masculine role that people play in life, and that maybe this is like sexist or something, but like maybe women aren't supposed to be the ones like doing the slaughtering and everything. Like maybe like there is something about the emotional aspect that women have that could potentially make them more like adapted to like doing the cooking of the animal while the
sure.
man does the slaughtering of the animal or something. So sometimes I think about that too, like maybe my emotions are just a product of like being a woman, and maybe not necessarily a sign that it's like the truth or something.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because the truth, as you said, is the truth no matter what, if you're blind or
Mm-hmm.
not. Truth itself is not attached to emotion. So truth just
Mm-hmm.
is. Therefore, we will
Mm-hmm.
have different emotions about it, and people will even get angry at the truth, but that doesn't change the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, yes, it's true that women, sexist channel here, are more emotional, obviously. And if you look into rural areas, you will see that the women usually never slaughter. So that is never
Mm-hmm.
the case. In some tribes, you see that the women take part in the butchering process, but that is
Mm-hmm.
super rare. The slaughter
Mm-hmm.
process itself is always done by the males. The mother of my wife said something. She said that women give life and men take life.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's
I find that
really
quite
deep.
profound. She's from
That is.
Senegal,
Mm-hmm.
some ancient wisdom over there. I like that
Mm-hmm.
quote a lot, and I think it holds true. So even if you look into the work of Weston A. Price, you will see that yes, it is the males that do the butchering or the hunting. It always has been that
Mm-hmm.
way, and it's quite
Mm-hmm.
normal for the woman to be more emotionally affected by that process.
I'm curious because I know if I remember correctly, you also cared about the animals and everything too, right? Like you
Sure.
were. Um, how did it how did it feel for you when you saw? Well, I remember. Okay, so if I remember correctly, your epiphany moment was from a mushroom trip, right?
Don't tell the vegans. Yes.
And I'm curious, like, were you like was there any part of you that like didn't want to believe it, or like did you like accept it as truth immediately, or like were you in denial, or like
Every fiber of my being was in denial for the longest
Mhm.
time. It was quite amazing. So, for people that haven't done psychedelics, if you're presented with a certain message within the psychedelic experience, if you don't accept that message, you will suffer. That is what a bad trip truly is. It's quite simple. So, you're presented with something, it could be visual. For example, you see
Mhm.
some demons, and then you don't want to accept that there are demons. then you get a reaction to what is being presented to you. So you get anxious, you get angry, and through that you spiral downwards and you get a bad trip. So I was presented with the vision of an egg. The vegans love this story.
I love it too.
And the first thing that I asked is, what is this supposed to mean? I don't eat any animal foods. Away with this egg. And I started bargaining with the mushroom entity. So I started asking about chia seeds, flax seeds, and all kinds of other plant substitutes. And ultimately, the vision, the message was that the egg itself is the origin of life. And it has certain components that we simply do not know about or do not talk about. And you certainly won't find them within a chia seed, because the chia seed doesn't give life to a chicken, right? So in this,
it's just like so funny to me. It's just like,
yeah, it was hilarious.
well, it's like so fun. Just like, it's like, okay, like I just like picturing you, like you're going through this like really emotional, like trippy experience. And then it's like such a, like, I don't know, it's almost like a little anticlimactic. It's like, oh yeah, they're just some like fat soluble vitamins in this egg that your body needs. And it's not like, you know, like this is the meaning of, I don't know how to explain it. It's just,
Yeah, I
it's
get
just
you,
very
I
fun.
get you. Even though, again, I think that the mushroom, and I really do trust mushrooms, even though that is, again, controversial, but I believe that the message was tailor-fit to me, and it gave me this meaningful description of it is the origin of life. Even though, yes, it is probably just saturated fats and bioavailable protein, but at least it told me, hey, it's the origin of life, eat it already. So yeah, anyways, I was rebelling and I got a bad trip because of that. I couldn't accept it and I was wrestling with that vision for 1 hour there, back and forth. It was in Thailand as well. And I was just, nah, it must be something else. And coming out of that trip, it took me 1 whole month of internal monologue and fighting it and arguing with myself until I
actually do
finally
remember that
gave in.
now.
Yeah, so it definitely didn't come easy for me at all. And even after that 1 month, I said to myself that I'm going to do a 1 week experiment and I'm going to just drink 1 raw egg per day because I didn't want to experience taste pleasure, because that's what the vegans say, right? You're just in it for the taste pleasure. You just enjoy eating meat. And I said, no, I'm going to make it as disgusting as possible. So I'm just going to drink 1 raw egg. So there is no taste involved. And I'm going to take the chia seeds away from my meal plan. So I'm replacing it with the exact same calories and proteins and fats. And let's see what's going to happen. And that's how I did it. And even though I felt better after that week, similar to your experience, I didn't want to trust myself just yet. And I said, oh, well, it could be something else. And I said it's just going to be 1 week. So now let me quit that and return to veganism. And so I continued with veganism for 1 more month of full-blown suffering until I really hit rock bottom. And that's when I started eating fish. So for me, it was a
Wow.
huge wrestling with myself until I gave in.
I actually do remember that now. I remember you talking
Yeah.
about this. Yeah, that's so interesting to me. And to me, that's like, again, that's like a sign of how you're a trustworthy person. It's like you, like, it always kills me when I see people who say things like, you were never vegan, like all this stuff, because it's just like, if you knew like the emotional struggle that that we went through to like make that transition, it's like, I don't know, it's just so wild to me. It's like, I think a lot of vegans are very disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from the truth. So much of it goes perfectly in alignment with like, you know, liberalism, social justice warrior mindset. It's like, it's all these people who are just so disconnected from themselves and so disconnected from like, it's almost like they've never had an experience where they've had to confront the truth. It's like they don't care about the truth or something. It's like they just care about like validation or something, you know? And so yeah, like your story is so inspiring. Did you feel bad about the animals, or like when you were eating meat and everything, did you like go through like, because I feel like I'm going through that right now, even like where like I'm eating it and I know the benefits that it has in my body, but I still feel sad about the animals. Did you
Sure.
ever like feel that?
Yeah, I can fully understand that. How long have you been ex-vegan now?
Like 2 years. I'm 31, so.
2 years already. Yeah, it will fade with time. For me, it took 1 year, was very, very serious. After that, it became better. Ultimately, in the beginning, I even made some videos about that. I think I had a video up called The Guilt of Eating Animals. And yes, I felt guilty, obviously. For you, it will be harder because you have been a lifelong vegetarian. So therefore, for you, it will probably take a little bit longer until you can, yeah, see it for what it is. But for me, in the beginning, it was absolutely horrific because when I went vegan, everything clicked for me. My family, they're all hunters and butchers. And I saw my first slaughter when I was roughly 3 years old. And obviously, I didn't like it. And I was watching Disney movies during that time already. So for me, animals were friends and they shouldn't be eaten, they shouldn't be slaughtered. I remember when my uncle slaughtered that pig on that night, I just ate fries and I was looking at the flesh, and it was so traumatizing to me as a 3-year-old. So I can
Wow.
understand that, I can relate to that. When I went vegan, for me, it was a huge relief because I thought, oh wow, finally I don't have to partake in all of that suffering. So reverting back to that was absolutely, I don't want to say traumatizing, but it was definitely, yeah, very, very saddening at first because I thought I left that cycle behind. But at the same time, it was very humbling because, as I said, veganism is a movement that proposes to know it all. And I realized, well, I have to humble myself because apparently I do not know it all. And the truth is something totally different than I assumed it to be. So with time, that faded out. But yeah, I can fully admit here that the first year, especially, every time I would eat something, I would think about the animal that I'm eating. I remember that scene as well. It was in Thailand too. And there was this cow grazing, and it was pretty close to our bungalow park. And one day, the cow was just gone. And I was like, oh, she's slaughtered now, she's gone. And I was very sad for that cow, and I was grieving for that cow. Yeah, but that is the circle of life. It really is that way. I know that vegans don't want to hear it. Circle of life, though, how can you say it? But yes, we all gonna die, and we all serve different purposes here in this life. And sooner or
Yeah.
later, you will come to terms with it.
Well, I think you know, I think that in veganism, it's easy to um, it's easy to have this belief that life should not include suffering and that life should not include feeling sad or something. Like you should only feel good and happy 24/7 all the time. And if
Yeah,
you're and it goes so hand in hand with like the whole new age belief system too, where it's like, if you're feeling negative, it's because you're on a low vibration. It's not because maybe you're meant to suffer sometimes.
yeah,
And so, I think about that too. Like I keep trying to remind myself of that too when I think about like the sad emotions that I feel, where it's like the sad emotions can be part of the experience, and it doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that life has sad moments, just and so yeah, I'm trying to like keep that in mind too, because like I said, like the health benefits are undeniable, and I can't imagine that God would have created it that way where you would get health benefits from something that's not true. Like
yeah,
that doesn't make sense to me. And so it's
yeah.
like, so yeah,
So let's
that's
talk
it
about
pretty much.
that. You eat meat, it brings you closer to God. We mentioned God a few
Hmm.
times already. How did that look like for you?
Well, so that night that I was crying myself to sleep and praying to God, I actually didn't really believe in God at that time in my life. And so it's like so interesting, like how even people who don't believe in God, when they're at their rock bottom, they'll still have the instinct to call out to God,
Yes,
you know?
yes,
And so, um, this whole time I thought that it was like me who was creating my reality and everything. I was like so deep in the whole new age movement, and I was like I'm the creator of my reality. Like if I'm not feeling the benefits of veganism, it's because there's like a subconscious belief that I must have that means it's not working or something. It couldn't be that like maybe I'm not the creator of my reality. Maybe there's another creator who has designed it away for a reason. And so like, you know, um, and especially with my background with my parents' religion and everything, like we believe in like they believe in like reincarnation and karma and everything, and I just kept thinking like it doesn't. At first, I just kept thinking it doesn't make sense to me that I should be eating an animal because that would create bad karma and that would cause me. But what if I become reincarnated as an animal who ends up being eaten by a human or something? It's just like
Yeah, I had the same
so.
fear. I had the exact
Did
same
you?
fear. I thought I'm gonna
Oh
come back
my
as a cow
gosh.
now, for sure. Yeah,
Right.
you
And
deserve
so,
it.
oh my gosh. And Bobby, I actually had a handful of experiences with mushrooms as well. And I like, I remember there was like one day where I was tripping on mushrooms with all these vegan people. And it was so crazy to me because I remember like being in that, the mindset of being on mushrooms. And I remember like looking at the people and I saw like their skin looked gray to me. And it almost, and I didn't understand it. And I remember like, um, I remember there were people in there also who were like smoking weed. And at that time in my life, I was also smoking weed. And I remember like seeing people smoking and like watching their eyes turn red and like watching like the smoke come into their body and like leave their body. And I remember like feeling this like really creepy feeling about it. And but anyway, so like I remember like having that experience where like the vegans around me just looked very sickly under the influence of mushrooms. And but I still didn't make the connection that it was the veganism or anything. Like but I just remember that. But anyway, when I was calling out to God that night and asking him to show me the truth about what to eat, I remember like feeling very guided after that day. Like I remember like just seeing these videos pop up, and it was actually the day after I had gone to like the Veg Fest in London, and I had like seen all these like vegan people who I follow on social media and everything. And it was such a trip because a lot of them didn't really look how they look online. And but then I was going through this like crisis in myself where I was like, what about like me? Like, what does it say about me? Like, am I fooling myself? Like, when I present myself online, do I really look like that? Or am I just thinking I look like that? Like, is it like what? Like, it like was just shattering
Interesting.
my whole self perception and everything. And so, um, yeah, I mean, I was also, this is like another can of worms, but I also used to be addicted to porn. And I was overcoming that addiction at the same time that I was going through this vegan crisis and everything. And I think both of those things put together was just like the perfect entry point for God to come into my life, because I was like begging God to take away my porn addiction and begging God to tell me what to eat. And I think God listened, and I feel like He was really guiding me. And so, um, yeah, I think that since that day, I started to really ask myself all these questions like, okay, like, I really feel like this is the answer to leave veganism and I can feel the benefits in my body. So, okay, so why? So, what does that say about God? Why would God create it that way? Like, why would God make it so that I get benefits from eating an animal? Like, why? And I just kept asking myself all these questions. And then eventually it came down to the Bible. And so I started reading the Bible and everything. And yeah, but hearing what you're saying about the Quran and like hearing your the way you described like leaving the Trinity aspect behind, like that's super intriguing to me. But at this point right now, I'm still kind of like playing around with different belief systems. I was like looking into Catholicism, and I was looking into Orthodoxy, and then I was looking into like just normal like non-denominational Christianity. And like I still don't really know like what the truth is, but it's like a never-ending journey.
That's absolutely beautiful story. Because you mentioned you're reading the Bible. Have you read the verses about, I don't want to say veganism necessarily, but about eating vegetables and things like that? Have you ever seen
Yeah,
verses
I
about that?
have. I
Yeah.
have. And, I have to admit, there's still a part of me that wants to believe it. Like, there's like a part of me that wants to believe that if we were living in a perfect world before the fall of man, maybe everyone would be vegan, but I just don't know, like, if we're ever going to see that in our lifetime. Like, there's still a part of me that wants to believe that, like, without original sin, maybe we all would be vegan, but we're living in the fallen state, as Jesse Lee Peterson says.
He's correct on that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
in that state before the incarnation, if you will, that state was a metaphysical state where you had no death. And if you have no death, you have no meat. And that's about it. That's why there was no meat. Because nothing ever died and everything was eternal with God. This is why there was no meat as an end product. However, all the foods in that garden would have tasted to us like meat. They would have tasted to us as nourishing as anything else. Yeah,
that is so true.
Yeah. But I actually want to show you the warnings against vegetables or against veganism within the Bible. So not only the things about the beginning of Eden, but moreover the warnings. I don't know if you've ever seen them. I jokingly call veganism the doctrine of devils here on this channel because of those quotes. I'm just going to show it to you. I hope you can see it. Just 1 second. Let me switch here. And here we go. I think that's going to work, hopefully. We'll just take 10 minutes. Here we are. Should be fine now. Okay, fantastic. So this is Timothy 4. Now Bobby's going to preach a little bit, but quite interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. So this is a revelation about the future, right? So some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats, which God has created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. It's quite amazing.
That's fascinating. I actually was not familiar with that. That's fascinating.
And one little funny quote here, I like this one as well, is, "Accept him whose faith is weak, without passing judgment on disputable matters. One man's faith allows him to eat everything, but another man whose faith is weak eats only vegetables."
I've actually heard that one before, and that one also is really interesting to me too.
Right. Yeah, it was quite an interesting thing. For me, it was like that as well. When I quit veganism, ultimately, it brought me straight to God. And I believe that has to do with essentially following God's guidance and following God's laws in that sense. Because again, to repeat, if there is a truth, you have to live by that truth. So something very simplistic. If you jump off a building, everybody would agree that you would probably die or get injured. So there is a truth to that. And there are underlying truths that people simply don't want to accept. And this is why they stay in delusion. And that can happen through diets, that can happen through, as you mentioned, pornography, etc., that we just further and further delude ourselves and live in incongruency and deception. And this is why we can't embrace the truth.
That's so profound. I never heard that Timothy verse that you just read. That's really interesting. It's almost like, it's just, and I hear all the time about, I've seen a lot of debates online between like James Aspie versus Christian, or like Earthling Ed versus Christian or something,
Debunked.
And
Christian debunked.
Well, it's really interesting to see how, I don't know if James Aspie and Earthling Ed, I don't know if they're atheists or not, but the way that they debate the Christian people, it gives me the impression that they're atheists, and it makes me wonder, it's almost like when you remove God from the equation, you are forced to go off of your emotions and feelings about things. And so it's like you just, it's like if you ask James, I'm sure if you were to ask someone like James Aspie, like, why is eating meat wrong? He's going to give you a response that's based on his emotions, based on his his own subjective perception. And so it's like when you remove God from the picture, there is no objective truth anymore. And so how does anyone base anything? Because to someone who's like psychopathic, they might not have any remorse for molesting a child, you know? And so it's like, how are you gonna, I don't know. There's just too many holes in the argument without God. And it's just, yeah. It's just always really interesting for me to see like the vegans versus Christian debates online.
Yeah, philosophically it doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense at all. To propose a moral, ethical movement to the masses without having an objective moral grounding for it.
Right.
How does that make sense? So, okay, first and foremost, we are Darwinist. So evolution just happened. Okay, so if we take that as a baseline, then we have to take survival of the fittest as well, right? So you're a Darwinist, survival of the fittest, and with that we can eat animals. No, but we have compassion. Okay, so what is compassion? What does it mean? Yeah, we feel different about the slaughtering of animals. Okay, but are we animals? Yes, we are just animals.
Right.
Cool, so animals eat other animals. Yeah, but we have moral agency. But we're just animals. So if I'm just an animal, I can eat other animals. What's wrong with that, right?
I know.
So
it's like it's like a roundabout, like, oh my gosh. But I remember being in that mindset, and I remember like feeling like so convicted by my emotions. And I remember thinking that the Christians sounded crazy. I was like, so you guys believe in like some crazy sky fairy who like dictates what's right and wrong for you?
Yeah.
But it's funny how like it's like because I know with like the vegan logic, their whole logic is that like you should not infringe on the life of other beings, that you shouldn't cause suffering to like that your happiness should not cause anything else to suffer, pretty much. And like I think that it sounds like such a nice idea, and it sounds like such a beautiful philosophy to live by, but when you actually but it's just like so interesting to me how like when you look at vegans and like the energy that comes out of them, it's like in direct opposition to the logic of their argument. Like they're not loving people, they're very judgmental, they're very like cruel, and they're almost like it's almost like a suicidal mentality that they're living under. It's like I'm literally gonna sacrifice myself for the animals, and it's like I'm going to sacrifice my health for the animals. And like, even if I was on my deathbed and the only thing that would save me would be eating animals, I still wouldn't do it. And it's just like, it just seems like, it's just funny to me how like the whole argument and logic that they're promoting seems to be in such opposition to what the actual experience is as a vegan. And so it's just like, it just made me realize that maybe sometimes you can't go off of what makes sense logically, or like, but I mean, eating meat does make sense logically, but it's like, I feel like if I really wanted to, I feel like I could argue veganism very well, and I could like rationally make the arguments for veganism extremely well, but there's something missing from that, and that would be the actual like lived experience of it. And I think that like it's almost arrogant to think that we as humans know know what morality is. It's like, why would we think we know? Like there's got to be something greater than us that knows better than we do. It require like leaving veganism requires you to humble yourself to your ego, and finding God requires you to humble yourself and like lose your ego too. It's like it's all a process of almost like putting less importance on yourself, but in a different way. It's like veganism puts yourself as less importance to the point where you're willing to die for the animals. Whereas like believing in God is like you put less importance on yourself because you are like in surrender to something greater, you know, but it's like a different thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a reversed mirror in a sense. So as a vegan, your ego is totally inflated, but at the same time, you're just destroying your body. If you're worshipping God, on the other hand, you see that your ego gets smaller, but of course you will take care of the body that is God-given. So why wouldn't you? You have to look after it. Just as I have to look after my child now, and I learn a lot about that. So yes, you have to take care about yourself as well. It's just how it works.
Oh my gosh, thank God you went through these changes before having your baby, right?
Thank God for that, man. When I see those vegan pregnancies, I'm so scared. I'm so scared for
I
those people.
know.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Congratulations, by the way. How old is your baby?
He just turned 1.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
so cute.
yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you very
that.
much. It's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. And he's eating all the forbidden foods for 1-year-old babies. He's eating raw meat. He's eating raw fish as well. He,
Wow.
yeah, and
He's
he
gonna
loves
be
it.
so strong.
It's quite interesting because I gave him the choice. I'm not doing some crazy experiment on him, so everybody knows that too. I offered him different food groups, starches as well. For example, I would give him some rice or something on those lines. He hates it. He doesn't want any starches. He just wants fruit and raw fish. That's what he
Wow,
loves.
that's
He
really
loves
interesting.
mangoes. He loves watermelons, a little bit of apples. He
Hmm.
loves raw tuna. He loves raw salmon. He eats steak
Hmm.
tartare, so just raw beef. He loves that stuff. And when I cook the steak just to try, he hates it and he spits it out. He doesn't like it. So that's just how he is. Yeah.
That's
And I
so
learn a lot
interesting.
about nutrition from him as well. Because I see, in such a state where he has all the food groups or alleged food
Hmm.
groups, he can choose what he wants, but he chooses just those two groups. He always chooses the fatty animal foods, raw butter as well, he loves, and fruits. That's how he eats.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I was actually with one of my friends yesterday. We were eating at this Italian restaurant last night, and she brought her son, who's like a little over 1. He
Cute.
literally, when they brought out like the bread and the butter, he literally picked up the whole block of butter and
Yeah,
just put it in his
yeah,
mouth and ate it.
yeah, they do that. They do that. They love it. They just eat it like that. Yeah,
So funny, but that makes so much sense though. It's like, and vegans always make the argument like if you put a baby in a crib with a live chicken and an apple,
I should try. I should try that.
like which one is it gonna go to? And I'm just like, okay, well, like a baby's not capable of like slaughtering a chicken? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like,
Moreover, if I would put a whole apple with skin in
mhm,
front of my baby, especially a couple of months back when he didn't have teeth,
mhm.
I'm sure he wouldn't be able to eat that apple either. So there you go.
Right,
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But
right.
that's vegan logic again for you. It's
So
quite
funny.
amazing. Yeah, but anyways, you mentioned again this objective morals that we don't find within veganism, and this is why it
Mhm,
is so deceptive ultimately, and this is why I keep on warning about this, that people base their belief system only single-handedly on emotion and no objective source. Of course, when
mhm,
you see those debates of vegans versus Christians, they will debunk the Bible as well and will tell you that's not an objective source either. But I always made the argument that no matter which religion you follow, we're not even talking about the religion in the first place. What we are talking about is a necessary being that is the moral standard, the absolute goodness, and everything is derived from there. So they always want to frame it because it's easier to make an
mhm,
argument. Christian versus vegan, Christian
mhm.
versus atheist. Did you know that the Bible says as well you should kill the gays? Have you seen that? So, yeah, and you lost the argument because of that. And that's the whole
Right.
point. We're not even talking
Mhm,
about religion per se. What I'm talking about is a universal moral standard which can only
mhm,
be fulfilled by God, by a creator. And everything
mhm.
else has to align to that standard. If you don't have that, then you are making arguments that are not based on absolute truths and not even lower levels of truths because there is no absolute truth. And therefore, we don't even have to listen to you in the first place. Any
Mhm.
atheist that makes any type of truth statement, I would have to ask them, is that true?
Right.
You see? It's
I
endless.
know exactly what you mean. Yeah, and it's like it's so funny now to be on the other side of that because like I said as a vegan, like a few years ago if I were to watch those videos, my perception would be totally different. It would be like, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, James Aspie is right. Like this Christian guy seems crazy?" But it's so interesting how like when you're malnourished, it literally changes your perception
Oh, yeah.
on everything. Like it changed, like because like I feel like the emotional dysregulation that you experience from being malnourished, it causes you to perceive things totally different too. And so it's like when you're emotionally more stable, your perceptions on things are totally different. It's like the same thing as like the whole feminist thing, you know. It's like you're like when you're mentally, emotionally unstable, certain things will make sense to you that don't make sense when you are emotionally stable. And so it's like, so I don't even know how someone who's deep in that mindset would break through that deception, because it's just like, that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to have a willingness to know the truth if you want to break free from that. Because if you don't care about the truth, then you're literally just going to be on this endless feedback loop of like,
Yes.
your reality matches your illogical emotions, and you're just going to keep going down that road.
Yes, absolutely. And God will let you suffer. That is where the free will comes into place. If you don't want God in your life, you're not going to get him, and that's fine. And then you're going to keep on suffering. And that is the experience that you have to make. That's how it works. It's a beautiful biofeedback loop that we have here. As I said, if you jump out of the window, hurts, or you're going to die. It's the same thing with diet as well. You put something into your mouth, then you run 16 times to the toilet. Something is wrong, you don't want to accept that, that is fine. Then you get depressed, something is very wrong, you don't want to accept it, that is fine. Then your teeth start rotting, fine, still. Keep on trucking. But at some point, hopefully, you will have suffered enough, and this is when most people return. But nowadays, what I see within the vegan community is that they use antidepressants. So they're even masking those symptoms in order to keep on going. Unnatural Vegan, for example, is on antidepressants. Vegan Gains as well, as far as I know. So people take antidepressants in order to cope with it. Of course, that is super stupid to do, because instead of just realizing that there's something wrong within you, you're masking the symptoms and keep on going with it.
Yeah, and you know, I can understand it from their mindset too, though, because like I said, like I can see how if I was still operating under the vegan mindset, I could make all the excuses in the world of being like, well, the reason why I'm depressed is because all these animals are suffering, and I'm like seeing the truth of what happens to these animals, and I'm at these slaughterhouses every day. So of course I'm depressed. How could you not be depressed? It's like there's so many, and that's why I almost feel like honestly, that's why studies don't matter to me. That's why like these logical arguments, they don't matter to me, because I feel like if you really wanted to, you could make anything make sense logically in your head, but it's like it's literally just the lived experience. And yeah, like you said, you have to actually want to know the truth. You have to actually want to know God. Otherwise, you could literally convince yourself and rationalize yourself to anything, you know?
Pretty much. If you want proof for anything, especially in this day and age, on the internet you will find it to feed your bias. It's absolutely easy to make an argument, be it for veganism, be it for pescatarianism, be it for vegetarianism, be it for the carnivore diet nowadays. There have been some studies now finally as well. And on meat eating itself, there is a lot of evidence and a lot of science too. It just depends on where you want to look. So, but ultimately I agree with you. And that's why the vegans hate me so much, because I personally don't care about your studies. I really don't care. I just want to live my life and feel good. Thank you very much. And none of those vegan YouTubers is a scientist. They don't even understand what they're reading. But here, it showed it. I don't care. Again, you're on antidepressants and you're bleeding out of your butt. So what does it matter, really? What does it matter? Here on my screen, I can see it. A vegan diet is suitable for all stages of life. And babies are dying. No, it's not suitable. Obviously not.
Exactly. You know, Bobby, you know, I feel like the most compelling videos to bring people out of veganism are videos like the ones of you talking about Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan. Because I'm serious, it's like there's something very humanizing about it when you're those videos. I laugh so hard when I watch your videos about Ryan, because it's just like you don't even need to be talking about vegan, like you're talking about his haircut or something. Just watching.
It's a male Asian haircut, Alana. It's a male Asian haircut, please.
And I'm sure Ryan, he's probably like a lovely guy in person or whatever, but when I watch like your way of being versus his way of being, and just like, because, you know, like, if you were to make a video trolling me about like my haircut, I'd probably just like laugh because it's like, it's funny. You know, like, and that's what I like. But like, to see someone who is so emotionally triggered by it, like, just can't just like laugh at himself and be like, oh, that is funny. You know, like, someone who can't make fun of themselves, or like someone who like takes themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm just like looking at that video, I would be like, okay, I would much rather be like Bobby than like Ryan, because like Bobby has a sense of humor. Like, he can laugh. He sounds like he's someone who could, like, you've made videos reacting to yourself as a vegan. It's just
Yeah.
like, and I think like just watching the two ways of being is enough to make the conclusion that this guy's much healthier than this guy, because like there's like a, you kind of get what I'm saying when I'm talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
I do. I
Like,
do hear what you say. I'm chuckling myself about Ryan. He wrote me a lot of emails as well. He was so upset
oh my
about
god.
it. I mean, it's crazy. The guy is over 50 and is getting upset about a YouTube video that talks about his haircut. Even though he presented it with full confidence into the camera, he was swinging his head from left to right, being absolutely satisfied with the barber, or with the hairdresser, I think it was. It wasn't even a barber shop. But anyways, yeah, I don't understand it either, man. There have been a lot of videos made about me online, about my bald head, and if it's done funny, I'm laughing about it. Of course, like, duh, if you make a good joke, it's a good joke.
and, and it's just another testament to the ego that's in veganism. It's like, you know, when you're a vegan, your ego is so strong, you can't even laugh at yourself. Like, you can't even have a sense of humor about yourself. It's like you're going to take everything so seriously. Like, I'm going to try to copyright strike Bobby because he doesn't like my hair. It's just like, I don't know. And I remember that, I actually do remember feeling that way as a vegan too. I remember feeling really triggered by any criticism that I would get. I literally could not laugh at myself. I like was taking myself so seriously. And like, now, like, being in a more emotionally stable mindset, it's like I can laugh at myself just fine. Like, if someone makes fun of me, or like if someone like were to post a video of me like trolling me, and if it was like a funny video, I'm sure I could laugh at it because it's funny. It's just
Yeah.
like there's something wrong when you're taking yourself too seriously. And I think it's an effect of, like you were saying before, how when you go ex-vegan, when you start to believe in God, your own ego shrinks, and so you're able to laugh at yourself more, and you're able to kind of like have more of a lighthearted approach to life, you know?
That's for sure. It was Dr. Natasha Campbell, I believe. She's a Russian doctor that advocates a lot of meat eating and raw meat, etc. And she said the first thing that goes with veganism is the humor.
I saw her video about that.
And she's absolutely right. The thing is that you see it with lions, for example. If they don't eat meat, they're gonna get very, very angry and aggressive, and then they're gonna go hunt. So it is innate for the human being as well to look for meat, because this is literally what every tribe does. It is absolutely natural for us. It is our nature. We can't fight it. And if we don't, then the empathy just dies off. And this is when you see that we get angry, take everything super serious, because we have a malnutrition, essentially. So even though you're eating enough calories, you're not getting enough micronutrients, you're not getting the essential amino acids, and this is why you are consistently angry, and life is super serious. But once you ate a fat steak, life is actually quite fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny when you look at the animals themselves, like, they're able to move on so easily. Like, they don't get attached to, like, when they see their family members dying or something. Like, you'll see them mourn in the moment, and then the next moment they're moving, they're like moving. It's like, oh my gosh, it almost seems like humans, or it almost seems like vegans believe that animals, it's almost like they put themselves as if they're the animal that's dying, as opposed to like just noticing the truth of what an animal actually goes through when they're experiencing death. Like, it might not, like, when an animal is watching another animal experience death, a vegan might think they're experiencing things that they're even not experiencing. Like, you don't even know what the animal is actually feeling in that moment, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I've seen pigs being slaughtered right next to other pigs, and there was no distress. Actually, the pig just went to the dead pig, sniffed, and went away again. So obviously the perception is a totally different one. The suffering is a totally different one. There is no such thing as a conceptualization of the emotion, etc., etc. That is a human concept, which yet again proves that we are not just animals, because no other animal behaves like us, thinks like us. There's such a huge gap between us. You can't just say we have 5% more IQ than a monkey. It's not the case. It's totally different. It's a completely different life form. The human being is not like any other animal on this planet. And therefore, yes, there's a lot of conceptualization, and I think it's called Anthropomorphism. I'm sure I butchered that, where people actually project their emotions into the animals and believe that the animals just see the world like them. Bambi cried for her mother.
Yeah, and like you mentioned the Disney movies too. I think that's a big part of it. And like, this might be like a total leap, but I actually think that veganism and the porn industry are so related to each other. Actually, I feel like, they both kind of like, because honestly, if you look at the Disney movies, both are present in those movies. There's a lot of sexual innuendos, and there's a lot of veganism propaganda in it too. They both kind of go hand in hand with each other. It's like they both create this subconscious attraction to antinatalism and to reactionary way of living, and just like, I honestly believe that they go hand in hand. And even like, I mean, even when you look into, the whole vegan agenda and how Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland, and then if you look at like who owns the porn industry, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole other rabbit hole. But it's very interesting how both those two things seem to go together really well.
Yeah, if you look deep enough, you will see that most of those industries are run by the same people anyways. So therefore, it is not surprising that they have the same agenda in all outlets. And yes, it starts, of course, with children movies, because this is when you're the most susceptible, and this is when you are easily molded. So obviously, when they show you the animals that just think like you, and they have friends and families just like you, and on top of that, you have those little subliminal sexual messages there as well. Yeah, one thing follows another, obviously.
It really does. And yeah, I think that there's definitely something weird going on right now. I mean, when you look at like how recently like all these fast food chains have started to pick up on the vegan craze and everything, and when you look at honestly the whole Bill Gates thing and how he's buying up all the farmland, and like you look at how, and honestly the whole like like vegans are almost like, I almost wonder like how long the government must have been planning veganism. Like, I wonder, like, with like the whole, because like the vegan activists are literally just doing the government's job of like promoting, like, fighting the farmers, trying to convince people to turn against their farmers, trying to convince people to, and then, when you look at how much, like you were saying before, like mastectomies are so popular in the vegan movement and everything. It's like I just wonder, like, because I would imagine that this momentum must have been starting decades before it actually blew up. Like it's got to be like some crazy psychological operation that happened like a long time ago, and now it's like we're seeing like it gaining momentum, but it must have started way before, or you know what I mean?
Absolutely, it has started way over hundreds of years, and we even have memoirs of the elites, and there's not some conspiracy theory, but it was actually published even in magazines back in the day. The oldest one that I can think of is, I believe, 110 years old by now, and it comes from Lord Birkenhead, an elite himself, good friends with the Rockefellers, and he described the world in 100 years. And there he describes clearly that the general population won't have access to meat. Meat will be replaced by substitutes. And he writes there, of course, cellulose cannot be digested by human beings. So plants cannot be properly digested by human beings. So therefore we have to modify it and extract the plant proteins. The whole thing is completely outlined and described, that the real food, the meat, the eggs, the dairy, will be exclusive to the elites.
That
and
is
there will be no
wild.
food sovereignty for the average man. So you can read those memoirs, they're out online. This one, as I said, is from Lord Birkenhead. The Rockefeller Foundation has been writing about this. It's always out in the open. The Agenda
Mm.
2030, for example, it sounds so conspiratorial. Agenda 2030. But the Agenda 2030 is a UN plan. And you can visit the UN website and you can read up on the Agenda 2030, which states as well that we have to reduce meat to a bare minimum and that we have to introduce transgender studies, etc., etc., etc. Right? So it always goes hand
Oh
in
my
hand.
gosh, that's a whole other can of worms too. That's so, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
We should, I mean, I would love to be on another stream with you again sometime, but I think that the
sure, you're
whole
invited.
transgender thing, like if you look at Hollywood, have you heard the whole theory that like everyone in Hollywood
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. I know every. I don't
What do you
believe
think about that?
everybody is a tranny, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if plenty of them are, but I wouldn't say that everybody. I've seen videos that literally everybody's a tranny. Maybe Michael Obama is, that I would believe.
I've seen videos about that. I've
Yeah,
seen, well, it's like because Hollywood literally is where all of these fads and trends get started.
sure.
Like there's so many people in Hollywood who promote veganism now and who talk about like if you look at PETA, like PETA, they always get celebrities to promote their message and everything, and like
Yes.
and with the
Joaquin
whole,
Phoenix, the vegan Joker.
oh yeah, that
Yeah.
guy, and honestly so many of those people, and like you look at honestly like the porn industry is so connected to Hollywood,
Yes.
and those two industries are also so connected to politics. Like if
Yes.
you look at Jeffrey Epstein and like how he had Bill Clinton and like all these like politicians on his island, it's like literally it just like it's almost like literally everything is being created by the TV, and it's like if we just never had TV, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm about to start on like a 2 hour rant, so I might as well stop right here, but
No, it's
it's
fine. We can definitely
insane.
do a live stream on that. It's true. If you look into Hollywood, you will see that all those Steens and Bergs, they run the porn industry as well. So it is a agent of demoralization and of weakening the population. Because it's quite simple, honestly. If you have the men just jerking off to porn all day, ultimately, I say it always here on this channel, you become cucked
Yes, you do.
in the truest sense of the word, because what you're doing is you're watching other people having sex and you're jerking off, so you're not part of the action,
Exactly.
and that is super unnatural. If you would do that in a natural environment, you would be the cuck of the village and you would be probably slaughtered or something. I don't know what would happen to you.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
it keeps you like it totally like for I mean this is gonna be okay. I don't mean to be like super vulgar and graphic, but it's hard not to be when you're talking about what happens in
yeah,
porn. But like when you look at a lot of the porn videos, so many of them, like so for so many of those videos, the point of climax is watching the man's ejaculation
yeah,
go everywhere
yeah,
except for where it's intended to go.
sure,
You know,
yeah, sure,
and they even like kind of glorify it being when a woman swallows it and everything. And if
yeah,
you think about it, it's almost like she's swallowing babies or something, or like it's like a weird like it's like a weird cannibalistic type of like thing sometimes. I mean, I know it's like probably like really far out there, but if you like it basically it's like kind of causing people to get the most pleasure from the sex acts that don't lead to pregnancy,
yeah,
and to like get the most to get the most pleasure from, like you mentioned, from not being part of the act themselves but just watching other people doing it. And so naturally that's going to create like a depopulation thing, if everyone is if everyone's just like not used to having actual sex. And it just, yeah, this is another huge rabbit hole. But I think that in general, like you said, they're all controlled by the same people. And it makes sense when you look at those Disney movies, how both things are present in the movie, like the veganism angle and the pornography angle, and like in TV shows and everything. And it's like in order for someone to deprogram their mind from that, they have to literally deny the world completely. And so if you don't care about God, it's just not going to happen for you. You're not going to see it if you don't care about truth and God.
Yes, that's very, very well said. Absolutely. Ultimately, it puts you in such a weakened position where you're cucked. You're watching people just having sex for pleasure. So sex ultimately should be for creating babies. Controversial opinion, but that's what it's intended for. And you're just watching them having pleasure. You yourself experience pleasure in the most meaningless way ever, because you as a man don't need even to pursue a woman and convey your value at all. So you can just get instant gratification. And of course, by losing your seat, you weaken yourself. So this is why we have this no fap movement. Ultimately, males have experienced that if you ejaculate, you feel weakened after that. Your energy is gone. You feel drained. A lot of brain fog comes with that. There are studies out there as well where you see depression linked to masturbation. And it's just a downward spiral. Again, you're not pursuing anything, instant gratification in your phone. And this is how society operates. So ultimately, it's all about instant gratification and not something that is sustainable and makes you happy in the long run. And what is terrifying to see is that people get bombarded with that information whilst they're very, very young and throw away their 20s completely. So I've seen that with males and females. They just have fun during their 20s, and then in their 30s, they become very, very frustrated. Right?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, literally, that's what happened to me. Like, I spent my 20s as a angry vegan, you know, and like as someone who was addicted to porn too. And I also think as well that I do believe that the veganism fueled the addiction as well, because I think that like being so malnourished and feeling so bad, the pleasure from watching porn feels extra good, because it's like it's almost like you're getting a little boost after feeling so depleted. And it's just like, it kind of keeps you stuck in this endless loop. But no, I agree with you. Like the things I know now at age 31, I wish I would have known when I was 21. I wish that I could go back in time and change everything, but unfortunately I can't. And, you know, I'm glad I realized it now, but it is really scary to think about how, like, if I never had that moment of crying out to God that night, I might still be stuck in the vegan denial and trying to like have a hysterectomy or something, you know? It's wild.
So what would your message be, to wrap the veganism part up, to vegans? I always ask that on my live streams. What would your message be to vegans or even born vegetarians?
I would say that I would say that the most, you have to weigh for yourself what's more important in life. Like, do you think that your belief system is more important, or is the truth more important? That's really what it comes down to. Is like, if you care about the truth, then ask God with an open mind to show you the truth, and be willing to truly accept what you are going to be shown from that. And if you don't care about God and if you don't care about the truth, then I would say just keep doing what you're doing, I guess. You know, I'm definitely not trying to like save everyone. I think that some people, maybe that is their destiny, to like just, you know, live life under that state. But I think that if you care about the truth, then ask God with an open heart and an open mind to show it to you, and just be willing to accept whatever you're shown.
That is absolutely beautiful. How does it look like for you now, finding to God? Because you said you're looking into Orthodoxy, into Catholicism. How does it look like for you on a daily basis? Do you pray every day, or do you go to certain churches? How does it look like?
I do. I pray every day. But lately, I mean, like, my prayers though are very like, I guess you would call them subjective prayers, because like because I know in Catholicism, and I don't know if this is also true in Orthodoxy, but I've heard that there's like prayers that you're supposed to recite that are already written for you.
Yeah.
But I haven't done too much with that yet. Lately, I just pray to God as if I'm talking to like the ultimate father figure, and I just like, you know, tell him what's on my mind and like ask him to guide me. But I do want to get more invested in like the pre-written prayers, and actually praying those and seeing if that changes anything about my day-to-day living. But no, I mean, like, for the most part, I go to several different churches. I've been to Catholic churches, I've been to Orthodox churches, and I've been to just like non-denominational Christian churches as well. And I just like I said, I want to know the truth. And so for me, I feel like sometimes I get the feeling that when I see people in every belief system, the overall vibe I get is that a lot of people in these belief systems are there for more of a community cultural aspect, and which is beautiful in itself too. But I genuinely want to know the truth. And so whichever one is the truth, that's the one I want to end up with, you know? And
Yeah.
so I just keep trying to ask God to like guide me and show me what the truth is. And I still don't really know yet. I'm still kind of like experimenting with a little bit of everything to see where it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. If you keep that open mind like that, I'm sure you're going to find what you're looking for. What attracted you to Christianity in particular? I would like to know that because your father is Jain, you said, mother Hindu.
Yeah.
So how come Christianity became attractive to you?
You know, in Hinduism and in Jainism, well, actually, maybe not in Jainism, but in Hinduism, you know, there's the concept of lots of different gods,
Yeah.
but they also promote that as like just different images of the same God. But
Brahman, right?
yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
and Krishna and everything, and like, and I, I was actually experimenting with like praying to the different gods, and then I experimented praying to Jesus, and I kind of noticed in myself that there just seemed to be a difference when I would pray to Jesus, because and I don't know if I'm like, and again, it's still really hard for me to tell what I'm making up in my head versus what is actually true.
Sure.
And like, I just noticed when I talk to Jesus, when I pray to Jesus, I just feel this sense of protection around me. And I feel like a sense of like the ultimate father figure. And like, I feel like almost like like I'm connecting to a father. And I didn't really feel that in Jainism or Hinduism. I didn't really feel like I was connecting with a personal God, with someone who's actually hearing me and what I'm saying. And like, but again, I don't know if my connection to Jesus exists because maybe I have daddy issues, and so talking to the ultimate father like feels better subjectively, or if it feels better because that is what's true. So I don't really know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's very interesting. In Christianity, we say that God manifests as the Father, and ultimately you visited Jesse Lee Peterson as well. He talks about it too. He talks about returning to the Father and through that finding towards God. I definitely see that God has this character and has this manifestation of Father for us, being the ultimate Father, and we can become His children again if we return to Him. There's definitely this personal connection that is very, very dominant within Christianity. So I can understand what is attractive for you within Christianity. Absolutely.
Where are you at right now? Because I know that, you know, you were talking about leaving the Trinity, and you were also talking about, you know, if I remember correctly, you didn't necessarily like convert to being a Muslim or anything after
Yeah.
reading the Quran. But where are you at with God and spirituality?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Ultimately, for me, when I was a kid, I believed in God. And when I was a vegan, I was into the New Age myself. And I was in the pursuit of becoming God, ultimately. Fully realizing that we are God consciousness and bringing it to the world, the whole New Age thing. Then ultimately, when I humbled myself in front of God, I realized that there is a God. And I was pursuing Him. So I went so far that I even went to Mount Athos, which is a lonely island, essentially. It's not a lonely island, but it's a old island that is only habited by, I think it's over 1,000 years old. Over 1,000 years old by Christian Orthodox male monks. So they're living there in seclusion. There are no females allowed on that island, and they're just doing their liturgy and praying to God day in and day out. It's quite interesting. However, when I arrived there, they told me that I must have been guided by Mother Mary. And that was my first point where the whole ideology started crumbling a little bit for me, because I didn't understand why it would have been Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. For me, it was God that guided me ultimately. And this is how I slowly but surely opened up to other ideologies and wanted to look further into. And yeah, that's when I started reading the Quran. And the Quran, spoiler, is talking about the oneness of God. That's kind of the theme of the book, to be totally honest. There are different stories within, but the main part is the oneness of God, and that resonated very, very deeply with me. However, as you mentioned here on this show, the truth sometimes hides in places where we don't want to look, and the truth sometimes is what we don't want to explore. And for me personally, I grew up hating Islam because we were in constant war with Muslims on the Balkan, so the Albanians. And in Germany, we had a lot of different criminal activities by Muslims. And this is why I had a very, very bad picture of the religion itself. But ultimately, I said I'm going to keep on digging further and further and further. And right now, no, I'm not converted, but I'm still researching and learning more about it. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. That's like something that I admire about you so much, is that like you're willing to test your triggers or something, you know? And I feel like that's so important for people. Like, I mean, honestly, when I first found Jesse Lee Peterson, I used to be super, super triggered by him.
Oh, yeah?
But I would keep listening though, because that was what caused me to leave veganism. I just need to, I want to face my triggers, and I want to like work through that emotional discomfort and everything, you know? And so, yeah, I think that's such a good quality. It's like such a sign of like mental strength to do that.
Yeah, ultimately, how will we find out otherwise, right? If we stay in our comfort, it's impossible to find anything else. Like, how will you do it? And especially those things that trigger you just show you aspects of yourself that you will have to face and understand. Ultimately, nothing should trigger you. That's the whole point. So as you mentioned with Ryan, ultimately nothing should trigger you. In the end, you should simply see things for what they are, and if you don't like them, that's fine. So then you don't have to get involved with it. But getting triggered is emotional immaturity, and it shows that there's something deeply wrong with you.
Yeah. I really hope you keep making videos about happy, healthy vegan. Those are like so funny. You have like so funny. They like literally make me laugh out loud. It's like very rare that I'll like laugh out loud when I watch a video.
Yeah.
But those are priceless.
They're hands down my favorite videos to make, because I genuinely enjoy myself reacting to Ryan. It's really the case. He's my favorite vegan of all.
That's too funny.
All right. Alana, I think we talked about quite a lot. You're definitely more than invited to come back. We had one super chat that I want to read out as well that was directed towards you.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Says the worst effects of being vegan and the best part of eating meat again.
Okay, I would say the worst effect of being a vegan is the feeling of hopelessness that you feel. It's the feeling of total disconnection from yourself. I would say it's the mental aspects of it are by far the worst. And I would say the best part of eating meat is the exact opposite. It's feeling emotionally stable, feeling emotionally regulated, and feeling a sense of connection to yourself and to the world and to your body and like other people. That was another big thing too. It's like leaving veganism caused me to have more empathy towards people, and it like made me feel more connected to people, which did a lot for my mental state for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on. It was absolutely amazing. I think we could talk on forever. You're definitely invited to come back, and we can talk about other topics, be it porn industry or Hollywood or anything on those lines. You're more than invited.
I would love to. It's like very rare to like meet people who are like who like have the same understanding of things and everything. But Bobby, like it was seriously such an honor to talk to you. I've been such a huge fan for so many years, and to actually like talk to you is like kind of surreal. So thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely fantastic, Alana.
Awesome.
All right. See you next time. All the best.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. And that was Alana. I hope I pronounced it correctly, because I was saying Alana all the time. Maybe it was Elena. Here we go. Let me just adjust my screen. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It has been over 2 hours, so slowly but surely I will have to return to the daddy life and take care of my child. My wife is already looking at me and staring at me. Thank you very much, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. Bobby, get David Weiss on here. Yes, I reached out to him, but I haven't gotten a response yet. We will talk about all kinds of topics, as I said before. We're definitely going to talk about the flat earth subject as well. Over 2 years, 3 years or so, I've been looking into it, but it just never was so convincing to me. On both ends, don't get me wrong, I'm not a glober, but I'm not a flat earther either. It's just such a aspect that I would like to explore myself and actually witness from far above, if I could. Anyways, let me just quickly dive into the chat before I tune out. Sacrifice. Man, we had a lot of people here, but you guys didn't support today. You guys didn't support via super chats. I was hoping that we will have much more questions for our guest. But nevertheless, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. Guys, I'm going to cut it off here then. And yeah, this week we should have some more reaction videos, hopefully, God willing. And next Sunday we should be back again, God willing. If you have any ideas for guests, please do me a favor, not now in the chat, but let me know in the comment section. That would be better, because like that I can actually read it. Otherwise I have to scroll through the whole chat. So if you can, underneath this video, please write it in the comment section who else I should invite onto the show. And I would be willing to do so if the guest wants so too. Okay, anyways, it has been long enough. I'm getting super hungry. I need to eat. Thank you very much again, guys. Leave me a thumbs up, subscribe, support the channel. All the links are in the description box below. Merci beaucoup et au revoir. Okay, guys. As always, may God bless you all. Much love and peace.